Okay. Obviously, here is the prime reason I don't do selfies. I am old and I am ugly. I've got droopy eye, droopy face, and what the hell, my right leg tends to droop a bit too. But that's just the way it goes. I want to ask you a simple question, one which I've been considering of late. How much of you is really you? And how much of you is in reality just a construct of the community you grew up in? Now, there was a study, so I'm told. I don't have records of it, but I'm told it exists. And boy, I tell you, sociology and psychology have studied about every lab rat in the known universe, so probably this is true. They did a study of how far away from where the person grew up did they find their husband, wife, significant other. And in a major city, it was usually within 14 square city blocks. At least that's the number I remember. Now, let me tell you a story. And I'm going to leave the names out to save the innocent, I guess would be one way to put it. I'm going on 73. I was born in the middle of the 20th century in Vancouver, Canada. Now, in our neighborhood, excuse me, folks, I had various friends. There were Al and John Mitchell, their big brother Brian. They were across the alley, back alley, and down a couple houses. Rick Hall, Tom Plon, Alan Brownell, a bunch of others that I can't think of right now. I'm getting old, my memory's going, but there was a bunch of us. And as I say, we were born in the 1950s. And we grew up in a time of great freedom. Hippies, look it up on the web. And the economy was great, at least in North America, and most of the other world too. So people like, let's call him Big Al, because he was tall. He decided one day he was going to head down to Australia. He became a diver, dove in the North Sea, world traveler. Ended up back in the lower mainland of Vancouver. Rick, another friend of mine, he didn't go to Australia, but he traveled around Canada a lot. Northern Canada, Eastern Canada, he traveled a lot. And now he's back in the lower mainland. My brother, senior pilot with an international major airline. He had the opportunity to live and retire anywhere. He's in the lower mainland too. Tom, he never left the lower mainland. He's dead now. He was quite happy to stay there. I don't know where the rest of my people or friends ended up. I've been an expatriate for over 20 years now. I grew up, as I said, in Vancouver, but I found that I wasn't happy there. I ended up wandering around. Eventually, in my 27th year, I guess it was about that, I found myself on a lighthouse. As a relatively newlywed husband, And on the light, we conceived our one and only daughter. From the light, I went back to the city after almost 4 years because we felt that our daughter needed to have children around her, her own age and size. Lighthouse keeper children are often very nice, don't get me wrong, but they're all just a wee bit strained from growing up in isolation. Probably why I liked it. I was already a wee bit strange. But we moved back to the city. I found I couldn't handle this city. Like that father in the Hot Rod Lincoln song, it was driving me to drinking. And I ended up on the Thomas Crosby 5 United Church Mission boat as a deckhand, and I left the Thomas Crosby 5 as an intended candidate for the ministry. Now I'm going to cut and paste here, go fast forward, and I find myself as a pastor in training in a small Indian village. Back then it was an Indian village. It wasn't a First Nation. Called Kitimat. Now it's called Haisla. They have become First Nation, amongst other things. And at that time, for about 5 years, I was radicalized, taken in by the elders, the chiefs, the grave digger, and everybody in between. And I was taught the old ways. And that was crucial to me. It changed my life forever. Changed my way of thinking and doing and being. Also was where I met my present wife of over 30 years. A lady of the Philippines who came to Kitimat Village on a church exchange program. I won't go into the details of that. She's fairly private mode. And that's all right. One can be in this world. But I left the village and I tried to become a pastor in the regular United Church of Canada. Translation, the white church. And it didn't work. I had become so convinced of the way of the village and the old ways of respect for nature and life and all the good things. I was also aware of the bad things, mind you, the slavery, the indiscriminate burying of live slaves under totem poles, selling of girls to old men. They had all the sins of any society. Let me tell you, there was many things grand and glorious about them. But one older woman who had gone through the traditional rites of passage for a young woman, one day, and possibly because I was a pastor in training and she thought as a village pastor I would need to know this, she told me point blank what she went through she'd never wish on anybody. It was a horror story. I'll accept her word for it. She didn't go into any greater detail. She just said it was horrible, and I believe her. But I was radicalized. And from the village down to the mainstream Canada where it didn't work out because I was too damn Indian. I'm not a pretendian. I just tell you I was trained in the old ways. I'm still a white man. But my Celtic heart and my Scottish clan soul resonated to the native community, to the clan structure, the chiefs, the elders. They just awakened to me what was always there. But I left Canada to live with my wife in the Philippines, for various reasons. And all of those reasons in 30 years now, we've been here 25, give or take, married 30 plus. They haven't changed. We cannot go back and live in the lower mainland with my old friends. And the question is, why not? They are all good people. And they have fine hearts and souls. they lead good lives. But for reasons that make no sense to me, or at least I don't understand, they felt the need to return to where they were born. I don't even know if they could explain it because I've never asked it. But they felt the need to return. Out of all of the friends, it's even in some cases, one couple got divorced, and out of the same extended group, family, friend group, they remarried within the group. There is a certain need to live the way you were raised with the people you were raised. Now, my question is, how much of you is you? I can only use myself as an example, and I don't do it because, oh boy, am I a success, great person, da-da-da. This is just what I found for myself. My family was traditionally Scottish Presbyterian. And then because the Presbyterian Church died out where we were, I became United Church of Canada. But then I chose to go to the Native community and be trained in their way. And then I chose to come to the Philippines because the way of life in mainstream Canada, it wasn't for my wife and myself. We both chose to come to the Philippines. One night at about 1 in the morning, it was a working night, work in the middle of the week, I've got an email from a university in the Philippines, and it said, "Dear Malady," whose name I won't mention, we have a opening in the social work department for a teacher. We have made the short list, and if you will come back to the Philippines and complete your master's degree, you're going to be the only person on that short list, and you will have a job because we need you and want you. And we had been in Canada 3 years, 4 years at that point. She had found a good job. She was moving up the ranks. We were as happy as we could be in Canada, which was not unhappy. We had a great time there. But it was sort of Toys R Us, and that was becoming less and less what we were. So realizing Myra didn't like to get woken up in the middle of the night, for almost any reason. There were a few reasons she didn't mind. One was to see a great comet soar through the sky when we were in the Philippines. And I thought, well, I'll risk this one. And I went up and I woke her up and I explained the situation, and she thought about it for 1.32 seconds, went down, got on the computer and said, "I'm on my way." And we moved back to the Philippines. And we have never, in 20 plus years, wanted to go back to Canada. Because this is where we belong. It suits our mentality. It suits our hearts and our souls. And we get to be who and what we are. But what made us different? The only thing I can think of is that both of us were very intentional about choosing what parts of us we wanted to enhance, that we wanted to mature and guide us and be part of our life. And the choices we made meant we could not live in Canada. I'm not saying our choices are better or Rick's and Big Al's and my brothers are worse. They're just different. Different is okay. None of us have gone out of our way to hurt others in our life, mostly. There have been times we have, and there have been times we shouldn't have done it, but there were times we should have. That's a whole nother story. But we made the choice to be outliers. For me, it was to live outside of mainstream Canada. Myra, the lady, she had decided when she was 21 she would never marry a pastor, never leave the Philippines, and most assuredly never marry one of them damn white men. Oh, well, she ended up married to a damn white man living outside of Canada, and by the all that's holy, I was at the time a pastor. And then we made other choices, but we were intentional about them. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. But we did it intentionally. It was not catch as catch can. And I think we have made ourselves as adults much more than what we would have been if we had just stayed within the boundaries of how we were raised. Not that it was bad how we were raised. I know many people that enjoy it immensely, and they're happy, good people, and all more power to them. Don't get me wrong, this is not a judgmental video. This is trying to explain how we made choices that created ourselves. I can't count the number of hours I've done meditative walks trying to enhance parts of me and trying to get other parts to change so I become, in my way of understanding and in my wife's, a better person. What will the gods think? Well, they'll think what they think. And all I know is that we have gone out of our way to become what we are. We have made the choices. And it wasn't always that way with me. I would often go just along with what was going with the flow. And so did my lady. She went with the flow. She was going to have one job and live in one house and never move and da-da-da-da-da. And when she got married, traditional Filipino culture said I would become the dominant person in the marriage, and lo and behold, she's the doctor out there doing good stuff, and I'm the old white man here just working on a video. She's become, as she should be, the dominant moving force in our marriage because she's so much better than I am at it. And we have lived out of the cultural norms. We live in a cross-cultural marriage that adopts what we think of as the best of both cultures and tries to get rid of what we think of as the worst. I don't know if it works, but it's been something I'm pondering. Why is it that I alone, out of all the people I grew up with, Doug, now wait a minute, Doug ended up north. He didn't come back to the Lower Mainland. They didn't all come back, let me put it that way. But a significant number, some words are hard to say when you're missing that tooth. I don't get out of the yard a lot. I hate the dentists down here. But mostly we grow up, and ask yourself, is it you? Did you grow up and become what you are because that was your culture? And does that mean if you had been born in another country, you would have been Jewish or Muslim or Sikh or Hindu rather than whatever you happen to be now? And if that's true, then it's hard to be bigoted against those in other lands who are simply what their culture has made them. Both cultures, all cultures have good and minus in them, good and bad. The trick is to find the good and live it. And here comes the part any regular reader of my blog would expect to find at the end of it. I don't think it matters what culture you're in as long as you do justice, offer mercy, and walk humbly. So I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you how confused I am about how I got to where I be. And it is a long, long journey. And as I said in one post, there are times it was a sprint and sometimes it was a walk. And now it's a slow stumble and mumble around the yard with two canes. But it's fun. Anyway, that's all, folks. I'm going to get this, I hope, out on the web. Bye-bye.